Joined now, as I say, from Oxfordshire by Sir Jeremy Greenstock, and here in the studio by Turkey's ambassador to the UK and President Assad's first cousin, Ribal Al-Assad. Let me ask you first, Ribal Al-Assad, and I'll put the same question more or less to all of you. Can a unity government, a transitional government with President Assad, stem the bloodshed?
Well, I think this is the most important thing is that we have to start a process. This has been going on now for 16 months. The whole world, most of the international community have asked for Bashar al-Assad to go. Well, he didn't go. Obviously, he hasn't gone anywhere. And he's not, we could see that he's not ready to go anywhere. So we have to be pragmatic today and start moving towards a process, towards a peaceful transitional change. And this is what I've been calling for. So we have to have dialogue. We have to have a national unity government. This is very important. The unfortunate thing that's been going on is that everybody has been fueling the conflict. There has been a fueling of sectarian conflict in the region, which it's very dangerous. And I've been warning since 15 months that there could be civil war if we don't, take care, of the situation. If we don't, we cannot arm for example, the opposition. This is against. This could only lead to more bloodshed, and this could lead to a regional war. It's very dangerous.
Okay, we'll move on to what happens next in a moment or two. But I mean, on what happened, Ambassador Chevakos, on what happened in Geneva, what emerged from there, do you agree that this could be a step towards a peaceful transition, an end to the bloodshed?
I think we have to give a chance to diplomacy, and if we are willing to give this chance to diplomacy, it is quite an achievement what we have seen in Geneva, because it is the first time that Russia, China and all the other permanent members of the Security Council agreed. Nobody was expecting an agreed text to come out of the Geneva meeting, and from this point of view it is quite an achievement. So we have to give this chance, and we will have to see how this develops. Certainly, I agree that President Assad has given so many promises before, and none of those promises have been held. From this point of view, Turkey particularly is quite disappointed, I must say. But when we look at the results of the Geneva meeting, I think all the P5 members are now fully responsible for the implementation of this text and implementation of these decisions. This is important.
Okay, well, let's get Sir Jeremy's view. Sir Jeremy Greenstock, I mean, do you believe that then progress has been made by the United Nations here?
I think this is a serious attempt internationally to try and forge a political agreement which did not lay at the basis of Kofi Annan's first peace plan. But these things take a long time. Neither the Damascus regime nor the opposition in its various forms are really listening to what's happening outside. They're determined to win 100% of what they're fighting for. And remember, think Bosnia on this. We started in 1992 with a conference, international conference on Bosnia. It took 3 years to bring the parties together because they saw that the use of force was more in their interests than international diplomacy. I do not see the internal parties listening to what's going on internationally at the moment. And yet that's foolish of President Assad, because I don't see how he can stay in power unless he starts negotiating. He needs to think about this really carefully now.
Well, staying with you, Sir Jeremy, I mean, that's the very issue, isn't it? It's leopards changing spots, and this issue of a transitional government still containing members of the existing regime who up to this point have been murdering some of their citizens. Can we really see them helping to make the transition to democracy?
Well, I don't see signs of it at the moment. The important thing to watch in this kind of story is the defections from the regime. We need to keep on putting moral pressure, strong moral and sanctions pressure on the regime. We need to give an opportunity for members of the security forces to defect into Turkey or to the opposition. But can you see a united opposition at the moment, let alone a coalition government across the country, including the Damascus security chiefs? It's still a long way off. People are intent on violence before they want to talk. But we've got to have something in place. This is the right move, and I hope we can be united internationally to show the people inside Syria that there is an alternative.
Well, Ribal Al-Assad, that's a very important point that Jeremy makes about the nature of the opposition. There's no unity there, far from it. There's no unity and therefore no position really to get into government at the moment.
It's true, and this is why, again, I've been calling, since the uprising started, that we need to have a united opposition. We cannot have such a divided opposition. We cannot have, for example, Turkey just being biased towards one group of the opposition, which is the SNC, which they are mainly Islamist. 80% of them are Islamist, because we are not able to show the Syrian people that there is a viable alternative to that regime. So it is very important to unify the opposition and enter into dialogue, under the international community supervision and under the Kofi Annan plan. That's the only way out. And I think that Turkey should play a role in that, because Turkey is a neighboring country, and instead of permitting and allowing armed groups or opposition groups to be armed and trained in Turkey and funded, of course, again by Saudi Arabia and Qatar, who are hardly democracies themselves, to be trained and enter Syria, this is not going to create a peaceful process. This will create more conflict and more bloodshed.
Well, the ambassador must answer that. According to Ribal Al-Assad, you're actually obstructing attempts to form a secular society there.
Well, first of all, I agree with the fact that Turkey is an important neighbor and Turkey has to play an important role. But I simply disagree with Ribal in the sense that Turkey is focusing to only one part of the opposition. Turkey has convened a meeting of the opposition groups in Istanbul about 10 days ago, and it is a beginning of a process. And I think the unity of the opposition groups is important, and this is what we are trying to achieve.
But that's precisely Ribal Al-Assad's point. The unity is important, but you're not trying to achieve it. Just tell the ambassador why you feel Turkey is not doing that. The ambassador is saying he is.
We are not focusing on only one group, and that is what I differentiate in
Well, I wanted to know what evidence do you have for that, Ribal Al-Assad?
We have actually, for example, for the Friend of Syria meeting that took place in Turkey a couple of months ago, we tried to attend there. We have sent a letter and give it to Member of Parliament Mr. Yasar Yakis, who's a member of the ruling party in Turkey, and they still haven't responded. They had only invited the SNC to all of the Friend of Syria meetings, actually, and this has left all the other opposition away. And he's again, His Excellency Mr. Ambassador, he's saying that they have invited other opposition groups. Well, unfortunately, we were not invited, and other groups again were not invited.
Well, answer that one, Ambassador Chervikos.
We have started a process, and this process is going on. Next week there will be another meeting of the opposition groups hosted by the Arab League in Cairo, and I think we have to be patient, and I agree that it is important to bring the opposition forces all together, but Turkey is trying to reach out to all the opposition groups, and this is why we are trying to find a solution. It is going to be led by the Syrian people, and Syrian people is aware that division within the opposition is not to their benefit.
Okay, well, Sir Jeremy, that really makes your very point there about the nature of the opposition. And let me throw Russia into all this. Does that really bolster their point, really, that the opposition is not unified and that some elements of it cannot be trusted?
Yes, but that's not a reason to condone what President Assad and his regime are doing on the ground with heavy weapons against the civilian population. I mean, I applaud all these moves at the moment. As our interlocutors are saying, it's going to take time. The opposition is not ready to form a united group that will equal the diplomatic and political strength of the regime, and that's why President Assad is keeping going. I think the international system must support what's going on, leave that alternative visible to everybody inside Syria, ask people again and again to stop the miserable human rights abuses on, frankly, both sides, but more on the regime side. We must keep going with this, and we don't have the alternative ourselves of intervening. Russia is an important player in persuading the Damascus regime, as in the 90s they persuaded President Milosevic in Serbia, that he must think differently about what he's doing. He's got to come to the table.
But that's the point. Haven't we reached the point, Sir Jeremy, where Moscow has to say to Damascus, President Assad has to go. It's over for him now.
Yes, I think if they don't, they are helping to prolong the violence, and I think Russia needs to take that into account.
Ribal Al-Assad, I mean, this is the point we started with. Is there any solution that includes Assad or his elements of his regime, now so much bloodshed has happened?
Well, again, sir, if things continue the way they are now, we're going to have more bloodshed, and instead of having 15,000 dead, unfortunately, we're going to have hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, because they're not ready to give up. So at the end of the day, we have to be pragmatic and practical. We have to allow the Kofi Annan plan, to work. It has to. That's our only chance. As you have seen, tensions are rising in Lebanon, in Iraq, with Turkey, on the frontiers with Turkey, with Iran. So what is the alternative?
Ambassador Chip, because, I mean, would it be unfair to characterise Turkey's position now as hoping for the best in terms of a peaceful solution, but preparing for all-out civil war?
We hope that the decisions in Geneva will be pursued by all the powers who have been participating in the meeting, and Turkey definitely will be one of those who will be pursuing the implementation of those decisions. And I think it should be taken to the Security Council, and if President Assad and the current regime continues in non-compliance of the Annan Plan and of the 2042 and 2043 United Nations Security Council resolutions, I think now there is a full responsibility of all the permanent members of the Security Council, perhaps to go further with further sanctions, which would also refer to the Chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter.
Okay, gentlemen, must end it there. Thank you very much indeed, Ünal Çevikos, Ribal Al-Assad, and to Sir Jeremy Greenstock there in Oxfordshire.